I think I've finally decided what I'm going to do with that factory blade. A couple of months ago, Screwfix sent me their Titan Bandsaw, and there was a lot that I liked about it, but there was one major drawback. This saw really struggled to cut through thicker pieces of timber whilst keeping in a dead straight line. In this video, I will be replacing that factory blade and finding out whether you can get professional results on this budget bandsaw. And if you haven't seen the review video, I'll make sure to have a link at the top or the bottom somewhere so you can watch that once you're done here. Let's get into it. He's wearing sunglasses in February. What a madman. You try looking at the sun. This entire video will be time-stamped below, so if you are interested in just seeing the results of how the blade change affected cutting quality, then you can skip to this point here. But first, I did just want to talk to you about the blades that I ordered. I ordered 2 replacement blades from a website called Tough Saw, and the reason that I did that is recommendations from you guys, actually. You told me in the comments that a lot of you had had a lot of luck using the blades from that particular website. Now, Ian at Tough Saw recommended that I go with their premium quality blades. Now, I didn't want to spend a fortune and buy myself lots of different blades, as I don't plan on actually switching them out that often. So I ordered myself 2. I ordered myself a 3/8 and an inch 4 TPI blade that I've got here, and a 1/4 inch 6 TPI blade. And this is the one that I'm most interested in testing, because this, in theory, should be the one that cuts the thicker timber in a much straighter line than what the factory blade was capable of. I ordered these back in November, so I'm not sure if the price has changed slightly, but I think I paid £8 for each of them, plus about £3.50 for postage, and I'm pretty sure the total came to £20 delivered to my door, which I think is very good value. Now it's time to change those blades, and before you make any calibration or blade changes to a bandsaw, make sure that it's unplugged from the wall. You don't want to lose a finger doing this, it's not worth it. If you are following along at home, you are going to need to get yourself a flathead screwdriver, and that is to undo the 2 screws at the top and the bottom here, so you have access to the full blade. Screwfix, if you are listening, please put shorter screws on these in the future. Now, with this, you've pretty much got full access to the blade already, but you do just also need to make sure that you remove the little piece of plastic, and you do that by just twisting and loosening that off. Next, you're going to want to flick this lever on the back of the saw to release the tension from the blade, and you're also going to want to fully release the tension lever on the top by twisting that anti-clockwise as much as that will go. And you can see the spring becoming looser there, so you know it's going the right way. There we go, and you can see now that with that loosened, the blade is now, it's almost taking itself off. And lastly, there's just 2 things to do now. Flip forwards the plastic on the front of the blade guard that sits on top, and flick the small piece of metal that's holding the blade in at the bottom, just to the left-hand side. Now you can grab the blade and release it from the bandsaw. Now, obviously, if you plan on putting this back in, which I don't really recommend, you can put this to one side, otherwise you can throw it away. You probably won't need it if you've brought yourself one of these premium blades. And now that that is removed, you can grab one of your new blades. I'm going to go for the 1/4 inch 6 TPI, and I don't think I said this earlier, but TPI stands for teeth per inch. So there's 6 teeth for every inch of blade here. I'm going to grab this and put this in, and then we can test out how it works. The main thing that you need to remember before you put the blade in is the direction of the teeth. Now, the teeth do need to be eating down into the wood, so they should be pointing down towards the table of your bandsaw. If you've got that right, then everything else will be easy. If you put this in wrong, it won't be cutting wood very well. So yeah, make sure to pay attention to this before you go ahead and tighten everything in. Making sure that the teeth are pointing in the right direction, slide it through the table and hook it around both of the wheels. The things that you're going to want to watch out for is making sure that the blade sits nicely behind this piece of metal here. It doesn't want to be to the side of it, and certainly doesn't want to be in front of it. So make sure that that is tucked in nicely behind that, and make sure that it is nicely underneath the bottom wheel. The other thing you need to watch out for is making sure that your blade is nicely positioned between the 2 metal guides on the top and the bottom blade guard here as well. If it's not, it means your blade isn't actually sat properly, so just make sure that that is sat nicely between them. Once it's underneath here, you can flick that piece of metal guard over it, and that's going to prevent the blade falling forwards. Then you can focus on your top wheel, and again, once that's nicely in, you can flick this plastic guard And that'll, again, just prevent it falling forwards as you're doing this. And before you start tightening up the wheels to tension this, you're going to want to make sure that your blade is roughly sat in the center of that wheel. And when I say center, I mean the teeth themselves. So the teeth there are about halfway between the back and the front of that wheel. And when you're happy with it, you can start to tighten up that tensioner on the top of the saw. And you might find that it's easier to tension this up a bit and then move where the blade sits on the wheel, as it will start to have a bit of tension there, obviously. And I'm going to tighten that right up. This is one of the things that I pointed out in my review, that you probably will need to have this tensioner down as much as it will go. Now, with that tightened up, the way you can test whether you've got the tracking correctly set is by putting your finger in here and actually spinning the wheel. And if you're spinning the wheel and the blade isn't coming off, it's a nice smooth motion, then well done, you've put the blade in right. If you're finding that when you're spinning that wheel the blade is coming off, then you will need to adjust this lever on the back by twisting it either left or right, and that is going to control the angle that that wheel sits, and it is just a case of toying with this until you get it right. You can then grab your little bolt from earlier and just put that back in, and then tighten up the screws on the top and bottom panels, and then you are ready to saw again. And before I cut, I am just going to set up my fence, and I am just going to also make sure that we are square. There we go, and that looks good. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact same timber that I used in the review video to test this with, but I found something pretty much the same. This is 70mm thick hardwood. I think it's mahogany. I'm going to run this through widthways, and hopefully what we're going to get is a lovely straight line, but let's find out. Well, I can tell you that that did a very good job. I am very surprised at how much of an improvement it has made to change that blade. I'll show you some close-ups on the screen here so you can decide for yourself. There was absolutely no blade drift that I experienced, and it has left a lovely clean cut the entire way along. So now I'm going to test it onto softwood. This is spruce. Let's see how it does. I'm really hoping the camera picks this up, but that is such a straight line. I'm mind blown. I'll take some close-ups so you can decide for yourself, but yeah, to me that looks very good. As far as I'm concerned, that's a very big improvement, but just so you can judge for yourself, here is a side-by-side of what it was like to use the factory blade versus the premium tough saw blade. And do let me know in the comments if you think that this is a worthwhile upgrade, or if there are any other tests that you would like me to run with either of the blades that I now have. So if anyone was watching this in any doubt as to whether it is worth changing the blade on the Titan Bandsaw, I can say conclusively that it absolutely is. You can spend £10 and the difference this will make to your bandsaw is absolutely huge. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, then let me know by smashing the like button. Consider subscribing for more videos like this. And if you do want to see me review this bandsaw, then you can do that by clicking here next. Until next time, happy building.